This is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Hey, this is Governor Chris Christie from New Jersey. Good day, doctors.
Go!
You're watching Dr. Politics.
Welcome, everyone. It is Stardate 87264.66 today, otherwise known as September 20th, 2024.
Right.
Yeah, I was watching, I was having some fun. I was doing my report for the state party. We have our meeting tomorrow. And I thought, hey, how would this sound if I was doing this thing in Klingon? And it adds a glory to the Empire. But yeah, I think I should have sent that version, and I think it would have been a lot more funnier.
Yeah, can you run that through? Can you run that through Google Translate then?
Actually, what Stardate or well, the Stardate, there's actually a formula to figure it out. You know, is 1,000 times the current year, which is minus 2323, the current day of the year, so divide by 365 times 1,000. And using the date September 20th, 2024 as applied, it is 1,000 times 2024 minus 2323 plus 2664 divided 365 times 1,000, which gets you your start date of 8726466. That is the formula for start date.
Whose formula is that?
It's actually, if you go to, I think it's Destination Alpha. Yeah, they have it, and there's a bunch of Star Trek. I think the Star Trek encyclopedia has that too.
Interesting. It's funny.
You know, and yeah, so it's you know, it's a lot of fun. This is what you can do, hours of fun when you have a little bit of free time. That's what I do. I research things like that.
Yeah, that's a great way to nerd out on Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's a great way to build an audience.
I've been watching this guy. He does all these. He does the ships, ships of the fleet, and he goes into all these details. Oh, this guy must have a lot of free time. He goes into details of ships and how the crew compliant when it's entered into service within Starfleet and so on. And I'm like, who spends that much time to figure that out? Yeah.
We know the type, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we've got you know, so but it's been a busy week. A lot of stuff happening. I think
new poll out. Virginia's still very close, and Kane is not doing near as well as I thought. At least in one poll that just came out, that's still fairly close. So,
is that the hung cow race?
Yeah, and it's closer than I thought.
I think if Trump wins Virginia, hung cow wins the Senate seat there.
I hope. I think I'm starting now to believe when I saw that poll. Now, keep in mind, Kane was ahead. I grant you that, but he's under 50.
It's kind of like Orioles magic.
Yeah.
Which is run out, I think, now. They've run out of the magic, I think, Don. Although I think they'll still get a wild card berth, I think. Because they're still a lot better than a lot of other teams in the AL.
Well, I haven't followed it, so I don't know. I'll have to take your word on that. But
yeah, I see this University of Mary Washington poll: Harris 48, Trump 46.
Yeah, yeah. So that's close, and you're still talking margin of error stuff. So that can't be good for the Dems here.
No.
And in Kane's case, that's looking kind of close. I thought he'd win in a pretty much a walk, but it doesn't look like it.
Did you go vote today? Early voting started.
I did. I didn't. I will soon. I'm usually the guy that votes on election day, but I will vote early this time.
Because
But
we lose. Seems to be all the late ballots that come in. In Virginia, you guys count them as they come in, right? The mail-ins and
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
In Maryland, we wait to election night. And what I mean, we wait till election night. We see if the Democrats losing. That's when we decide to open up the early. And lo and behold, all the mail-in votes are for the Democrat.
Yeah, usually.
Speaking of Maryland, Larry Hogan's doing okay in the polls. I think there's an outside chance he wins big. I think he wins, but I think he might win big. There's an outside chance of that. Because I think
What are
a lot of people
saying now? What are you saying now? Not that I put too much faith in the polls. What are you saying now?
Well, there's a poll that had him up by 2. They had a poll that had him down by 3. They had a poll that had him up by 4.
Yeah.
There was a Mason Dixon. Not Mason Dixon. I think it was a Gonzalez poll where he was up by 1.
All right.
He's within the margin of error, which is great because that's how it was when he beat Anthony Brown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's why when Trump keeps it this close as he is, then it seems to be a good sign for me because I think he's always sort of underperforms in polls. In other words, he overperforms in reality when it comes to the vote. So if that's still the case, then he's in good shape. Now, I don't know. Maybe the pollsters have figured out
better than he was in 2016
and certainly in 2020, even though that was a loss. But Biden was up by 5 or 6, as I recall, about this time. And that turned out to be very close. And because of COVID and some of maybe the shenanigans they were up to, who knows? Maybe it was a little bit different than we thought. But I think it's going well. And I did not see Kamala's interview with Oprah, but safe to say Oprah did not ask her if she still favors the.
Hold on, I'm glad you mentioned Oprah because I feel it's only fitting that if we're going to talk about Oprah, we can't talk about Oprah possibly without doing her famous Oprah opening. Here we go.
Yep, I've seen it.
Our opening's a lot better than this, by the way. Just want to
say. Well, I don't think Oprah asked Kamala if she still favors the LNG moratorium. I don't think that was asked. I don't know, but I didn't see the interview. In other words, she asked nothing really, right? Nothing of any substance.
Yeah. And that was skinny Oprah.
Yeah, I mean that whole thing was just yet another example of how bad things are, though. I mean, you already know that Oprah's, she's already, an avid supporter of Harris. There are not going to be any tough questions.
Yeah.
But even on the softball questions, Harris doesn't say anything, right? It's like she answers these questions, and you're like, what the heck did she just say? I mean, I'm embarrassed. I mean, I'm just. It's cringeworthy. I'm scared that the the vote that she would actually wind up getting elected. And we'd have at least 4 years of this inane president. I mean, we made it through Obama and we made it through Biden, but Harris is a lot scarier on a lot of fronts, and she doesn't know what she's talking about. She has no convictions.
All right, guys. Sally would have asked the hard questions.
Sally just Raphael. She's still with us?
Yeah.
Well, Phil Donahue, he would ask the hard questions, but he's no longer with us. I think that was
he would not have asked the hard questions for this one, I think,
Phil Donahue. Remember Phil? He was one of the first biggies.
Mr. Thomas. He was married to that girl.
Yes, it was very, very attractive. I thought Marlo Thomas was beautiful. So
You know, and then remember,
Yes.
I don't know if you guys knew this.
Sally
You know,
Pittman, she's 89 years old. She hasn't really aged well, though.
no, I
a
don't think
lot
so.
of them don't.
No, but when you get work done as you get older, who knows what then can happen to it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the real you, not the one we used to know.
Yeah.
But
She was good looking. But she was good looking on that girl. That was a great. In fact,
well,
my first.
Your first encounter with that girl was probably not that, but like when you were probably in first grade, David, in I guess McLean Elementary School. Is that where you went?
Lemon Road Elementary.
Oh, Low Road. Was the High Road?
Lemon Road, yes.
Oh, Lemon Road. Okay, I think it's Low Road.
No, Lemon Road Elementary.
Yeah.
And since I left, they changed the team. The nickname is now the Lemon Road Lions. But we were the Runners when I was there. The Lemon Road Runners.
And this is what. And let me tell you, this is Marlo Thomas, and this is what America, as the great Bill Lind put it out. Yeah, and this is how you probably were first introduced to Marlo Thomas. You remember this, Dave?
Right. Oh, Thomas. Yeah, she was good.
Yeah, that's about right. I can't take any more of it.
Well, Dwight, you were mentioning old stars and starlets in this case, and I had always confused. See, Julie Newmar was Catwoman. I always kind of confused her with Patricia Barry. You remember Patricia Barry?
No, who is she?
I thought I literally confused the two. I thought it was Patricia Barry at one time, but then it's Julie Newmar.
Wait, she was on the Monkees. Julie Newmar was on the Monkees also.
Oh, was she? I didn't know that.
She had a cameo on the Monkees. Davy Jones made some comment how Julie Newmar is the perfect Catwoman.
Yeah.
And she was there doing the laundry.
Yeah, she was great. And is she still with us? I know it sounds
Julie
bad to say
Newmar?
all this.
Nah, she's probably not. I doubt it.
I wouldn't think she is, but yeah, Julie Newmar was great. So all those old stars.
No, but wait a minute, Susan, that was earlier than that girl. That was Marlo Thomas. That is Marlo Thomas, though. That sings that, though.
Julie Newmar is 91 years old. She's still chugging along.
91 years young, as Willard Scott would say.
But I don't think Patricia Barry's still with us. Patricia Barry was also one of the starlets of the 50s and 60s.
Was she like a villain from what, Electro Woman or something like that, or?
I used to see her on Twilight Zone episodes, Perry Mason.
Yeah.
And do you know who was a Hollywood star that had contributed to LI? I think towards the end of her life, she became a conservative. And I had an opportunity to meet her once when she came to this Stephen P.J. Wood building, but I didn't do it. And I'm kicking myself to this day that I didn't. I think it was Jane Russell. I think it was Jane Russell that came to the LI building to look. And I guess she contributed.
Don tells me stories about it. AIM, Dano used to come to the AIM dinners.
Who was that?
Dano from Hawaii 5-0.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
That was what? That was Helen Hayes. Was that Helen Hayes' nephew or something like that?
Son.
Oh, son. Okay.
And I don't know who told me this, but
I don't think he's with us anymore either. By the way, David.
No, he died. He died kind of young, actually.
Did he?
Yeah.
He also did something else, right? Didn't he do some Disney movie or something like that?
He was Swiss Family Robinson.
That was Disney, right? That was a Disney.
Oh, yeah.
Someone told me, and I don't know who it was, but that Jerry Mathers was a Republican, was a solid Republican.
He probably was. I mean,
I don't know who told me that, but it's in the back of my mind. Someone said, yeah, Jerry Mathers was a solid Republican.
Well, Hugh Beaumont was a Republican. We know that.
I could believe that, yeah.
He was a minister, or something like that. Frederick Murray, somebody said, was also a Republican.
And, Joe Mannix was a great Republican. Mike Connors. Yeah, he was a friend of Reagan's, and I think even backed Reagan in 76.
Yeah, well, I mean, even in 1980, a lot of Lucille Ball who until then I thought she was just a communist.
Yeah.
But she had a fundraiser for Ronald Reagan when he ran in 1980. She invited all of her Hollywood friends, and it was like a big deal.
And
People are so
also, Jim Neighbors. Remember when Maureen Reagan ran for the Senate? Jim Neighbors did a fundraiser for her.
Gomer Pyle.
Yeah, Gomer Pyle, Jim Neighbors. So, you never know.
Did you know what show Gomer got his start on?
Strange Bedfellows. No, I don't know.
Andy Griffith Show. He was Goober's cousin.
Oh, well, of course. Well, I knew that. I thought start before then.
Oh, I think he was discovered on the Andy Griffith Show. I don't know.
Well, you know the expression which I just used, politics makes strange bedfellows? I heard the origin of that. And what it was is when Wendell Willkie ran in 1940, he and his wife were basically estranged. They were living separate lives. But it was thought of that the two of them should be together when they're campaigning to present a married couple image. Well, Mrs. agreed to it, and so they were going to be traveling together, staying in the same hotel room, and it was Mrs. Willkie who said, well, politics makes strange bedfellows. So that's the origin of that one.
Yeah, I thought that was from Mary Madeline and James Carville.
Yeah.
In 96, he came to the Republican National Convention because Mary Madeline did a syndicated radio show then.
Okay.
Or was she campaign manager then? But she was doing a show. She may have been doing Alan Keyes or Ollie North's show anyways.
Well, she was also heavily involved in the campaign, right?
Yeah. And she was the campaign manager actually, 92.
Yeah.
And then you had Jim Carville. Jim Carville made a funny. He goes, you guys are downright friendly folks. You guys are treating me a lot better than we'd treat you guys if you came to a Democrat event.
Yeah. I don't know how is she still with us? I guess Mary Madeline. You never see her.
Yeah, she probably is.
Yeah, I mean, you see Carville, but you never. Yeah, she's kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's being a mother or something like that.
She's a good Stepford wife.
Grown, I think by now. I think
Stepford wife, Don. She's just being a good Stepford wife. She's being like Tammy Wynette, standing by her man.
Well, I've noticed over the years, even a lot of the conservatives, that I knew, 20 years ago or whatever, they're, you don't see much of them. They've kind of gone into parenthood or whatever and gone, no longer involved in the movement, done, switched careers completely.
I mean, remember Heather Nauert? She's nowhere to be seen,
Mm-hmm.
She used to be on ABC News. She used to be on Fox.
I met her at NET.
Yeah, didn't she? She started at NET, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Sadly, Major Garrett's still with us, so it's too bad.
Yeah, Major Garrett. He was always a jerk, frankly. He was a jerk. Greg Jenkins is another one who was kind of a jerk too, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some
interesting people.
Caitlin Collins was a Daily Caller reporter, and now she's a CNN anchor. Just and not a good one.
Right, not good at all.
Dirk Benedict, somebody told me was he's a Republican. He was actually part of the Hollywood underground in the 80s and 90s when it was not cool to be a Republican. It was like him, Fred Grandy, a few other people.
Yeah.
Get Smart, somebody told me was a Republican too. Don Adams.
Yeah. Bo Derek apparently was a Republican.
Who?
Yeah.
Bo Derek.
Yeah.
Really? That's nice.
And Cheryl Ladd, I think, was too.
Yeah, she definitely was. She spoke at the Texas State GOP convention.
Okay,
Cheryl
good.
Ladd. Yeah.
Good.
Chrissy from Charlie's Angels.
She was one of my favorite Angels. Would have been Cheryl Ladd when I was a kid.
Wasn't her dad Alan Ladd? Was her dad?
I don't think so, because I think her last name Ladd. I think she took. No, I think she married him.
Oh,
maybe she married Alan Ladd. Huh?
That's good.
Because she wasn't born a lad.
She was born Cheryl Jean Stoppelmoor.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so she married Alan, because Alan Ladd is like a
maybe. I don't know. I'm just maybe.
She married David Ladd, the son of Alan Ladd.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
All right.
Because
Okay.
that'd be like a spring-winter marriage if she married Alan Ladd.
She was great.
there's a. I mean, there's I think who is the guy, the hillbilly? Buddy Epson. He was a Republican, I think.
Yes, he was always solid. Yeah.
As was Eddie Albert, was also a Republican.
Okay. Kelsey
And-
Grammer.
Yeah, one of the Gabor sisters is a Republican because she was on Pat Robertson's CBN network a couple times.
All right, that's good. Yeah.
I think it was Zaja.
Zsa Gabor,
Zsa.
maybe.
Yeah.
Gabor sisters.
I mean, it's also you're also highlighting really the difference between old Hollywood and current Hollywood, right? I
Yeah.
mean, huge change now in terms of
Yeah.
what's happened there.
Yeah, and remember, there are cases where someone came up as Republican, but then went off to the left. And I'm thinking of the Huffington. Remember Ariana Huffington? Her husband ran for the Senate in California.
Yeah, in California.
Almost, he had a lot of money. They had a lot of money behind him. We thought he was going to win, but didn't. But Ariana then went off to the left. I don't know what she's doing now, but she then moved to the left during the whole Bush thing.
I mean, Ariana. I mean, she went. I mean, she went lefty before W. I think.
Have we ever figured out what happened with Matt Drudge? I don't know what happened there. It was he was supposed to be the conservative sort of gadfly. You guys probably met him and knew him. I never knew him, but was it taken over by Drudge? The Drudge Report? Because
I mean, that was always his. That was always his. That was always his thing. That was him.
Because now
Matt
the
Drudge.
left took it over. Well, it's now lefty, but I didn't know if he had sold out to them and they took it over, but they kept the name, or if he became a lefty and he's doing that.
Yeah.
He doesn't like Donald Trump as well.
Yeah.
He's just like your buddy Matt Lewis, David.
Oh yeah, check out my column. Yeah, I was very nice though, as you can tell. I pulled punches, but
yeah.
The thing with the Never Trumpers is that they get known because they're Republicans and are anti-Trump, and so they're put on TV because of that. Well, you think they'd show some gratitude? They show no gratitude, and like a Rick Wilson and the others.
Look at our former Lieutenant Governor Mikey Steele.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he was a DEI hire, probably. He was probably qualified at the time.
They always want to have someone they can claim as a Republican. They can put their arm around them and say, "See, we have Republicans on the network." But of course, the person
and that's what MSNBC is famous for, is basically bringing on all these disaffected Republicans, and they've been doing it for years. Steele's one of those guys. Do
you think also Brooks becomes another? Also Brooks goes to MSNBC or CNN after she loses to Larry Hogan.
Well, I hope she loses, but
if she loses, though, I think would be a major upset because I mean Hogan is trailing in most polls.
Yeah,
so.
And
but
also,
he was trailing Anthony Brown too, and whichever
you can't. I mean, we use polls as an indicator, potential indicator of how elections are going, and when we find that some polls are right, some polls are wrong. I mean, it depends upon who you're polling. I mean, you've got to look behind the numbers to see the crosstabs.
Yep,
things like that.
Yeah,
it's like remember 2012. Every poll was wrong, from Rasmussen to Mitt Romney's going to win. Mitt Romney's going to win. That's what I'm almost confident that Trump's going to win re-election again, but I think there's part of me that says, remember the Romney campaign? Romney was supposed to run away with it. Well, even at Barack Obama saying, "I'd rather be a significant one-term president than a two-term so-so president."
Well, with Romney, was it at the end or something? He seemed I don't remember totally, but I mean, maybe he let up at the end or there was some problem. I thought he was going to win. I went in election day thinking, I think Romney's going to win. So I don't know what happened.
I was at the party. Don, I don't know if you came to the party we did at Koch's that night. Around 8:30, people were like so depressed that they were demoralized by 8:30.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta go. This place is just getting too depressing,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in Maryland, also Brooks is, from what I can see, she's not really running on a record per se. Not saying what's we're going to do? It's kind of an imitation of Harris, and Biden. It's like we're not the other guy, right? It's it's kind of a scare tactic. The commercials I've seen for Also Brooks has really been centered around Hogan, the potential of Hogan would become the tie-breaking vote in the Senate. Would give the Republicans the control of the Senate. It's not really about what Also Brooks is going to do as a senator for Maryland. It's about blocking the Republicans from taking control of the Senate.
They're playing checkers.
Yeah,
they are playing checkers. Yeah. She needs to block.
Yeah, and the Democrats are. I mean, we're seeing kind of a repeat with the Harris campaign of Biden. It's like, I'm Kamala Harris. I'm not Donald Trump. Vote for me because I'm not Donald Trump.
Yeah,
I think that works to a certain extent. I think she gets a little bit of a leg up. She's boosted support with Democrats since she got into the race with blacks, but it's below the level where Joe Biden was. There are things out there with Harris that just kind of leave a lot of things to say, is this going to work? Can she do this? CNN's Harry Enton, who does the polling for them, he had a graph the other day, and he says, that Harris is basically right now in the danger zone, and on the Electoral College, is that if she wins the popular vote by 1 or 2%, there's only a 23% chance she wins the Electoral College. She goes to 3 or 4%, that goes to 51%, and above that, she goes to 81%. So, she's still off the mark, because she's still within the margin of error. It's still there's still a good chance, that Trump wins the election, maybe not the popular vote, but he probably will win the electoral vote. But I'm still not convinced with all of this polling that Harris, are Americans dumb enough at this point in time, after going through the whole Joe Biden charade, to vote for Harris, seeing what they've been seeing, and saying that we're going to vote for her because of the color of her skin, because she's a woman, she's a Democrat, or are those going to be the issues, rather than immigration, the economy, things that really should matter to people and tend to matter to a lot of people. But we don't really have a good idea of what Harris stands for on the economy, nor on how they want to treat immigration. Really, every time she's been asked a question so far, she keeps giving us these really weird answers. It's
even with Oprah last night, she didn't bring her A game.
What's the A game for Harris? I don't even know what that A game is.
That is true. That might actually okay. The A game I'll say was her debate performance. That was her A game.
Yeah. So that's her A game. They're in trouble. I mean, that's just that she won the day thanks to help from the media, but when she's on her own, I mean, she's had 3 other interviews. She won't face the press as a whole. She's only trying to do friendly things. She's been on that program in Philadelphia. She did a one-on-one there, so she didn't have walls there. She's since the whole Dana Bash thing, she did the thing with the National Association of Black Journalists, and then she did Oprah.
By the way, that interview, you put that side by side with the interview with Donald Trump. You can the bias is so blatant.
Oh yeah, I agree.
It's not even funny.
Well, on the black journalists, I mean, even I think the people asking the questions were sometimes a little bit puzzled, because I think they asked a question on like gun control, and Harris goes off on this thing, and her typical kind of word salad, circular, motion, and she just starts saying these things. And I think that that particular person was just like still trying to get to the answer, because she didn't get an answer, right? And Harris, she's trying to be disarming with that whole kind of cackle laugh, smile, laugh.
That's joy, Don. That is joy.
Yeah, right. Try to disarm you, and by doing so, you forget what the question was. She just gives you a complete
Yeah.
non-answer.
Hey, I'll put it out there. Hey, Kamala, if you want to come on our show, Dr. Paul, we'd love to have you. We'll be very respectful. We'll even give you a big box with your picture, And I think we can be fair and balanced. And we won't even ask you too many trick questions. We'll just ask you just the facts, like, where were you for the last 4 years, Kamala?
Yeah,
Where
but
are
that's the
you
problem.
when?
Well, that's the problem. I mean, she's going to have to get nothing but softballs, and even there, it's kind of questionable.
Yeah, I know.
whether she's
I
gonna be-
heard you're not even going to ask her favorite flavor of ice cream because that's too controversial for her to take aside. Because she doesn't want to say vanilla and tick off all the chocolate people or the
Yeah, that's
strawberry
true.
people. So she tells everyone her favorite flavor is Neapolitan.
What was the meme that someone sent about what do you plan to do? And then she says about the economy. Let me just say and she answers, let me just say I was born in the middle class.
Yeah.
And so, in other words, it's not really answering your question.
Yeah, I know.
or
She,
getting
Yeah,
that was the interview in Philadelphia, and she talks
Yeah.
about middle class,
Yeah,
but was it single mom, right? I mean, raised by a single
Yeah.
parent,
yeah.
and she talked about great lawns, and it's like, so what in the end was like, so what is this plan? The plan is to make
Yeah.
sure everybody has a great lawn,
Yeah.
make lawns great again or something. I don't, it was
Or
so
in a electric school bus, or
Yeah.
kids
By
studying
the-
Venn diagrams, and
by the way, Kamala was a single mother, like Princess Di was a single mother, raising those two boys all by herself. Over at Windsor Palace,
Kamala Harris
she
has
went.
stepkids. There's stepchildren, right? She has 2 stepchildren.
Right.
She doesn't have
Yeah.
her-
right. They're none of her own. Yeah.
Oh, so Princess Diana was more credible and more with the struggle than she was.
Yeah.
It was,
But I think Princess Di had more charisma, was probably better with the media. I think Harris, they may be getting tired of her too, of her not
King
answering
Chuck
questions.
had more charisma than Kamala Harris.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, I think we all want the media to do their job, and that's the thing
Yeah.
that they're not doing at this point.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
this is just like they helped protect Biden, from trying to say that he was okay and he wasn't mentally unfit. Now it's trying to protect Harris and saying she's a complete dimwit, and we're just not going to press her on these questions. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it was that the black journalist thing. She was asked about. I think the gun control question. She was talking, and then she goes, well, I protested at a gun show once. Talked about loopholes, all stuff. All the various. I'm like, okay, so your policy is based on.
But she's not coming for guns. She owns guns. Her and
She says she's a gun owner, and but it's like, so you protested at a gun show, and that is going to be the basis of your policy about guns. It just, none of this makes any sense, but nobody goes further. They let her just go with that, and this is what frustrates me about Trump, is that he's too involved with in a sense a little bit of like almost like identity politics, which is really a Democrats game. He gets into like, oh well, the Jews need to vote for me. I don't understand why I would only have.
Well, you heard AOC today go off on Teamsters for not endorsing. When they had a problem, who'd they come? They called Democrats. They didn't call the Republicans.
Yeah.
And
Maybe they didn't think you solved the problem.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sorry, Timmy Homer Simpson Walls. The guy's a dope, and he thinks being a dope is gonna. Honestly, you're the vice president of the United States. Okay, you need to be taken seriously. Would anybody vote for Homer Simpson for vice president?
Well, he's not vice president yet, though.
Yeah, I know, but would anybody vote for him though? Would anybody want to vote for Homer? I would trust Homer a heartbeat away from the presidency than little.
Yeah, well, they voted for Harris in case of Biden winning. So
yeah, voting for Harris is like voting for Selma, for Patty or Selma.
Well, I can't see her winning, but then again, I don't know. The country's full of stupid people, so I don't know. But I mean, there's no way she deserves a promotion based on what she did in this administration. So
I think if you take us outside of the Beltway, where right here, I mean, Montgomery County, okay, liberals don't care that they're paying $5 for a loaf of bread. Frankly, they're like, well, it's because people that are making the bread are now making more money. That's why I'm glad to pay $5. It's like there's a friend of mine who actually has the government take more money out of his taxes every 2 weeks. And he goes, oh, so the government can do the work of government, That's what, and I go, you don't realize you're giving the federal government an interest-free loan. He goes, I get all that money and then some back. I'm like, you're still a moron. If you take that money and put that into the stock market, well, that's an evil way to make money. Stock markets, yeah.
Well, I mean, you have all those uber liberals. They go out there like Warren Buffett. They're more than happy to pay more taxes. They think they ought to pay more taxes. Like, look, if you want to pay more taxes, that's fine. I don't want to pay more taxes. I don't know a whole lot of people who want to pay more taxes.
And I want to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. The Trump tax cuts did a whole lot more for people in the middle than it did for the 10 percenters or the 20 percenters or the 30 percenters, frankly. Increasing the child tax credit, all that stuff that put more money in families' hands than the tax cut was actually it was a middle class tax cut. The middle class benefited greatly from the Trump tax cut. The wealthiest of the wealthy did not benefit as well, frankly.
Well, look, if liberals want to pay more in taxes, don't take any deductions. Just say, I'm not going to take any deductions. So the government gets more money to do all these wonderful things. They don't want that. They want you paying more taxes because they really want your money. They're fine paying higher taxes as long as you're paying higher taxes. But they don't want to give you the advantage of getting lower taxes than they have.
Well, the left wants everybody to be equally miserable, David. Yeah. Everybody to be equally miserable, frankly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw the stock market report. They're saying how Joe Biden did a bang-up job, and that's why the stocks are doing so much better. And
well, yeah, and look, my long-standing thing here is just that you have to separate the stock market from the president because there is very little correlation for that. The stock market is not, it has no, tie to the presidency. The president can't do a darn thing about it. Policies that are, things that are laws that are passed by Congress can affect it, but it's really market conditions. Those companies, if they're making money and interest rates are lower and things like that, and things
interest rates are still not. We've had maybe 2 generations with the group with super low interest rates. Okay. I remember in 1985, Don, General Motors and Ford announced 7.7 financing on a car, and everybody was crazy and jumping to buy a brand new car because they only had to pay 7.7% on a new car. Granted, by 1989, GM and Ford and Chrysler, they were offering 0% financing, 2% financing, 1% financing. The only people that never went to 0% were the Japanese automakers: Honda, Toyota, Nissan, Mazda. They never promoted 0%. I wonder why that is.
I wonder too. That's a good question. I don't know whether or not the foreign automakers like that had their own financing arm, like our American manufacturers, because when you bought a car from Ford,
Chrysler, Ford Finance,
you would finance that through their finance arm, which was a separate entity, in essence tied to a bank and everything like that, and so they would. That entity was making money off those loans as long as the loans didn't go south on them, and all that. I'm not sure being foreign automakers whether or not they had the same ability to do that. So they had to use maybe a third party to do the financing. So therefore
Honda did offer. I thought Honda was one of the. I thought Honda had Honda Finance.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think of them. I mean, if you own your own finance company, you can buy down that rate promotion, and knowing that when that promotion expires, that a lot of people won't.
Yeah,
they're not gonna pay.
there's Honda Finance Corporation, which was founded in 1980.
There we go, 1980.
Yeah, so they just didn't want to give 0% is what it is. I think
Yeah, maybe that's the kind of the smart Japanese, things like, look, it doesn't make any economic sense for us to do that. We're willing to.
Yeah.
Our cars are good. People want our cars. They pay our price. That's it. They didn't spur people on.
Yeah,
Having
Toyota was probably one of the last ones to get their own finance arm. They did not get into the game until 2000. Toyota Financials. But it's
I find it much easier to buy a used car and just pay cash.
Yes, amen.
Yeah.
That is the way to do it. Actually, Dave Ramsey's right. You do not need to be financing. Leases are basically like a fleece. Yeah, and Nissan has their own financing arm too. So
I think now you have to have a financing arm to have the level playing field. If you don't, you're going to have a problem, because that means you're going to send your customers to a credit union or a bank. You got to wait.
Yeah.
If you control that finance arm, you can close the deal right away. A third party, you've got too many issues unless you've got them streamlined into your operation. I think that's just difficult. So yeah, things have just changed over the years.
Well, what do you call that? Now they have 72 months financing for a car.
And 84.
84?
Yeah.
I guess that's for if you buy one of those $100,000 plus cars, I guess.
I mean, new car prices are, through the roof, right?
Yeah. Although there are people saying the prices are dropping now.
Yeah, I think they're moderating a little bit. I mean, it's like everything else. We're seeing kind of the resistance of consumers to ever rising prices. We came out of COVID, and supply chains were still trying to get back. Our pockets got a little bit extra money in them from COVID relief from the government,
saving gas
that.
money, not having to drive to work
And they didn't think about it as much, but all that extra free government money, and free in the sense of it's still coming out of our pockets. It's you're getting money, but you're basically getting your money, right?
And that's why Breyer's ice cream is $6.99 for a half a gallon brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
Well, it's not free. One way or the other, you're going to pay it back. Is what you're going to pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah, but generally, I mean, people don't understand that, right? I mean, it's the student loan forgiveness and all these things.
Well,
They think, oh, that's great. The government is going to forgive my loans. Well, who's going to pay for all that debt? It's us. I mean, we're going to be on the hook for that. That just gets added to the debt.
And even if someone says, well, I don't pay taxes, so I get a freebie, you don't, because you'll still pay in other ways, such as inflation, like you said, with high inflation. So.
Right.
Or when they play the lottery, which is a tax on the poor, as I always called it, But here's another little fact that people don't, and this is one thing I think Democrats are out of touch on this. They actually have no, I mean, if you leave the big blue cities, let's say you go to upstate New York, you go to Utica, they will tell you $5 for a loaf of bread is too much. $5 for a gallon of milk is too much. What is it, $3-4 for a dozen eggs? That is too much, And people are cutting back. It's the consumers can only. I mean, there's a lot of people that are max. I mean, under Biden's 4 years, personal credit card debt has gone through the roof. And also, we've also got this thing called, how you had subprime mortgages? You also have those subprime bank car loans. And I was reading somewhere that they are the first ones that are being affected by the repos. Like there are a lot of repoed cars out there that have been repoed, and they're trying to sell. And you're not getting what you on the auction block. You're not getting what the loan was the amount for with the price. And these people, I saw a video. They really abuse the cars. They don't take care of the cars because they know it's going to get repoed in the next 6 to 18 months. so they really don't take as good a care of the car.
Right.
You know, people are now holding on to their cars longer, which is fine. I think they should. I think you should keep cars for at least 10 years. And they just buy a new car. And I also tell people, put aside like $600 every month for the next 10 years. When you have to buy a car, you just pay cash for the car. And believe it or not, you get to it's a better negotiating point with cash than finance, frankly.
Yeah.
And the finance people get really mad at you when you decide to pay cash at the last minute.
Well, I mean, the finance people, right? I mean, they make money off of financing your car. So the cash part of it, when you're buying a car at a dealer, is like, they accept it, but in a lot of ways, they kind of do it begrudgingly because, there's money to be made on the financing. If they sell you all those extras, that gets financed too. So it's just profit on top of profit. So
true, but if they get the cash, they get it up front. I mean, you're right.
Yeah, but see, they get money from the finance companies every time they send some their credit to them. So that's one of those things where, hey, we've got, you got to do, but you got to play that game to get a really good deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of insider dealing with the dealers, right? I mean, between the manufacturer and the dealer and the finance arm as to money going back and forth. You make the sale, you get them to sign up for this rate. The dealer, a lot of the dealer profit's going to be built in to those little extra incentives for the number of cars they sell and at what price they sell them at. The kind of things that we don't know or don't see, because they were saying, well, here's the invoice, we'll take whatever off the invoice price. Well, that's a false, thing there, because that's not really the worth of the car. That is, it's like going to college, right? Are the Ivy League schools really, $50,000? No, because they set that whole thing up so, they can award you a bunch of scholarships, bring that price down. Federal government's got a loan program that also helps bring that down. The schools are doing fine. Will we ever see an institution, public institution that actually prices, their, or even private, that public, that prices their education based on, kind of what it costs to provide that education, rather than all these false numbers that keep getting stuck in there. It's just my own personal bias. I mean, in my own experience with Brigham Young University, would say that they're probably closer to the mark. I don't know exactly, what their costs are, but they're a relatively low cost private institution, and so they're not on having these big. They don't have these huge endowments. They don't have all this whole big rigmarole. The school itself is really built around philanthropy. I mean, one of the things I encourage the students to do is to give back. They have a very active program of getting the students to contribute after they've left. Left school.
George Washington had something like that. You got a fundraising letter the day after you graduated, waiting for your mailbox.
Yeah. But then you want to see, and Spencer got that. He got that because he did grad school there, and he's just like, no, I kind of, I know what that school's like. I would never give them a dime. Whereas
they support terrorists.
Yeah. Whereas BYU, most of the kids know that money gets funneled back in to keep the tuition, down as much as possible for everybody else, and it's being subsidized by church members tithing. So. They're getting a subsidy there without having to take any government money. So that's a much better deal than it's much closer to being a more honest pricing of education than we do in most colleges, universities. It's really seriously. I mean, does anybody really think a Harvard education is worth $50,000 or $60,000 a year?
No, it's not. If you ask me, honestly, when Governor Perry was governor of Texas, he had them come up with a $10,000 undergraduate degree for the University of Texas university system.
Yeah,
And you know how they did that? They got rid of all the stupid core classes. No more having to take women's studies. No more needing to take racial sensitivity.
You mean they got rid of other things? The core they kept. They just got rid of the extra. They kept the core, is what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, I would say Common Core is what they call it at Maryland. All those extra.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, so I get. Yeah, I mean, I guess that program is based on you give them what they really need, and say don't all that fluffy stuff, all that liberal nonsense. No.
Yeah.
And so therefore you're going to price it this way. I was just go ahead.
No, it's like the Liberty Mutual commercial. They only pay for what you need.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing with schools. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that also begs the question about kind of a little bit more like a la carte, right? You know, have it priced so that you can pick and choose things and make it competitive. I mean, this is, you know, college and university tuition is not competitive, right?
No, it's not.
It's not competitive at all. It's a very, you know, opaque system of what's going on there. So, you know, yeah, I think, you know, Governor Perry, what he did in Texas, that was great. See, I was saying that I was doing a thing, putting together an article on DEI in colleges and looking around and then looking at different resources and things like that. The amount of money that some of these schools, you know, poured into, you know, diversity, you know, equity and inclusion, and this whole inclusion stuff, right, it's just crazy. And you know, all the leftists, you know, they get all mad about the elimination of these programs, you know, by these Republican governors, you know, or by the Republican state legislatures. But then you see the amount of money, you know, 17 million here, 7 million there, and you're like, so what were the students getting for that money? I mean, you know, why were they why was all the money being spent on that? You know, that's definitely extra stuff, right? That doesn't need to be included in this at all. It was just there were some eye-popping numbers about how many people have been employed in the whole DEI and DEI related, you know, field in colleges and universities in some of these states. It's ridiculous. Arithmetic.
And you know, I think a lot of our local schools, the high schools, could go back to learn something from going back to the basics too. Reading, writing, arithmetic, you know, teaching phonics, you know, for education, get rid of new math, new history, new English, you know, frankly, get rid of all of that stuff. But then again, as the liberals would say, well, mathematics is racist. English is racist. History is racist. It's like everything is racist.
I think that was the director of the Chicago schools, maybe one of the leading teachers unions. She basically said the same thing.
Remember some of the things that come out of the AT, what do you call American Federation of Teachers? The AFT has been Ebonics came from them. Yeah. You know, I want to say I think Chicano studies came out of them too. You know, how that's different than Latino studies or Hispanic studies or human studies, frankly. Yeah, there is there's a problem with education, and I think the biggest problem. This is the class. These are the people that were taught. People that are now in academia they were taught by the class of '68, the hippies. You know, who wanted to violently overthrow the United States. That is why we have what we have on college campus with these anti-Semitic protesters. You know, there was a time in America where we would not have professors at universities would not have tolaerated this kind of uprisings. You know, insurrections from students. You know, attacking Jewish students. Go one class to another,
taking over buildings. I don't know why they weren't all just thrown out, expelled for taking over a building.
Because those in the ivory tower probably sympathized with those anti-Semites, frankly.
And then the school decided, well, we'll have a meeting with you to discuss your concerns. Yeah, all that's going to do is encourage future building takeovers. Yeah, we'll have a meeting with you to discuss your concerns.
But, you know, over at Columbia, they said, you know, hey, anyone that participates is not going to get, you're not, you know, you're not getting your degree from Columbia. We're not going to give you your parchment. You've been here for 4 years. I'm sure mommy and daddy are proud that they just wasted over $500,000 probably sending a kid to Columbia. But then we learn later the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, who, by the way, Republican too, Paul Harvey. He wowould say is they had a little meeting and they said, well, we're going to mail you your parchment. You didn't get your punished. You were punished enough by not able to walk across the stage.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, I had a friend in high school. He didn't even bother going to his high school graduation. He didn't go to his college graduation.
I didn't
go to. You didn't go to your high school graduation, huh? You didn't go
I was
to
at
your
my high
college
school
graduation?
graduation. I didn't go to the college one.
Really? You didn't go to? Oh.
Not to the college one. No. I was just happy to get out of there.
Same here.
I just like to be in the center of attention. Can you tell I'm the youngest?
Well, George Allen spoke at mine, but I didn't end up going.
We had, let's see, I want to say for high school, we had Paul Berry, which, by the way, I had no idea Paul Berry was a Republican either, by the way. I just found that out recently. The guy from 7 on Your Side on Channel 7.
Yes. Oh, yes.
He's a Republican.
Remember Dennis Ketterer, I think maybe also worked for 7. He was a Republican.
No, wasn't he the Democrat that ran against?
Oh, he's a Democrat, but you're right. But conservative. He was a conservative Democrat, as I remember.
Yeah, or moderate.
Yeah.
He was like Heath Schiller. And then at GW, our commencement speaker was, I would say it was some liberal. I would say maybe Bob McNamara. That was our commencement speaker. And Maryland was Michael Graves, the architect. But I like walking. I think it's a lot of fun to do. It's something to do. It's something you'll never forget. But then again, it's like I feel like every day is a day you never forget because everything dynamic is happening every day. You're making great things happen every day. Yeah. But we got sidetracked a little bit on that one. But we are coming up on a
sidetrack with Julie Newmar.
Yeah, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of the troglodytes from Hell's attack on innocent Israelis.
And University of Maryland students wanted to hold a pro-Palestinian rally.
That was a win for our team. They got canceled. They can't do that.
That's good, but will that hold, or do you think the administration will give in?
I think they'll just move them to a different date, frankly.
Yeah,
because I think if they had that on October 7th, there would have been violence on campus.
Yeah, there'd be a problem with that one. Yeah,
it'd be like it's kind of like when you see these clowns on 9/11 going around saying, "Oh, the government caused 9/11," blah blah blah. It's like, and that was a missile that went into the Pentagon. What I like to tell people is, where's my friend Barbara Olson? If that was a missile that went into the Pentagon, where is Barbara?
Yeah.
Where is Barbara Olson?
Yeah.
But we are at final thoughts, Don, unless we want to go over like we did last week.
Yeah. Let's try to keep it within reason.
Yeah. Last week we were, I think, an hour and a half. Which, by the way, is nothing compared to the old days when we used to be 2-3 hours.
Thankfully so.
But that was when we were in the studio. We did cake tastings and stuff like that.
Yeah, you had breaks in there.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and then we moved to the Irvine studio. We didn't bring food downstairs. It was just a good call for any studio not to have food in it. Yes, Susan, we are at final. I know time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. And no discussion of Spiro Agnew or the Orioles were mentioned.
I did mention the Orioles. They're losing their magic.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, yeah. So to me, it's like the Orioles will make the playoffs. I mean, I think that's guaranteed. How far they get is another question because their play lately has been atrocious.
I know it's like it's like they're running out of gas. It's like well, they are. I mean, then again, they could have a good weekend. I mean, they could do really well today, tomorrow. I mean, they're only 4 out of first place. They can still come back and win the division. Actually,
Yeah, but I think with how many games are left, they need to go on a hot streak. The Yankees need to fall apart.
Yeah, and the Yankees lost yesterday, and the Orioles won.
Yeah.
So we're gaining on them. We've got your number, New York. We've got your number.
It's the clock is ticking.
TikTok.
The,
At least we're not the least.
problem is that the Orioles have to get hot so they can go into the postseason. But if they keep playing like this, they won't make it past the first round.
Yeah. By the way, the Redskins are 1-1, right? All those people that were blaming Dan Snyder for they're not going to. I think they'll probably lose this weekend. All those people that were blaming Dan Snyder for the atrocious record of the Redskins since when he took them over. How's that working out for you without Dan Snyder? Maybe I was right when I said it's not the owners, it's not the coach, it's the damn players. It is the players.
Yeah. I don't watch NFL football anymore.
I don't either.
But
I find so much more free time when I do that.
I would just like to see the Redskins quarterback actually throw a touchdown. The rookie has been out there and he's played 2 games. He showed that he's pretty nimble with his feet, but he has not thrown a single touchdown pass in the first 2 games, which is kind of remarkable, and kind of wonders when will the offensive coordinator give him something where he has a chance to throw some touchdown passes? They're kind of playing it safe with him, but you're not going to win many games, with that strategy at this point. So it's a very strange situation with him.
I have more faith in the Terps than I do in the Redskins.
That's not saying a whole lot because I don't have a lot of faith in the Terps.
Hey, they're 1-1 too. They're 1-1. They beat Virginia, which is kind of a big deal. And I think they did very respectable against Michigan because really, were they going to beat Michigan? Please, come on. They're not beating Michigan,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is that I saw the quarterback's name and I'm like, who the heck is this quarterback?
And I think they'll probably win tomorrow. They're playing the Wildcats tomorrow, I think. Who are they playing? Yeah, they're playing Villanova. They'll beat. I think they can beat Villanova.
They should be.
And anyways, let's get to final thoughts. We're already 2 hours. We're 2 minutes over.
Yeah, that didn't take long.
Yeah, but it was entertaining. Our fans love the fact that we slammed the Redskins. Oh, wait a minute. The Commanders.
Yeah.
Stupid name. Stupid.
Stupid city.
Oh, yeah.
I was really hoping they called them the Washington Bureaucrats.
Yeah.
But anyways, enough making fun of the Redskins. Final thoughts. David Shepard.
Well, all's going well. I'll get you the info. I'll be back in Maryland in early October with the book. Book's doing fine. Nice. And I think I'm becoming a little more optimistic about Trump winning. I think he will. I think in the case of Kamala, I think people are starting to realize how vapid she is, how empty, and maybe she feels she can hide. But I don't think so. I think the press is even starting to get a little annoyed even with her. So, I mean, the argument, the basement strategy might have worked if she had much of a lead, but I don't even think she has any sort of lead. So I don't know if she's sort of dead in the water or just already peaked, but I think Trump ends up winning. Otherwise, everything else is going good, and I wrote a couple more Substack columns, so I'm starting to catch up. We're writing the Substack, and I'm looking forward to a good week, and I'll try to vote this week, early vote this week.
Oh, good. Remember, vote early, vote often.
Yeah.
That's just something for the Democrats. But
I told you. One last thing. I did tell you guys the joke about the guy that died and said before he died, he said, "When I die, I want to be buried in Chicago, so that for all eternity I can keep voting."
Yeah,
I guess
he could also be buried in Baltimore. He'd still be voting if he was in Baltimore
or Louisiana.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's about it.
Okay, Don. Final thoughts.
I guess one thing is just general commentary on both Trump and Harris. It's just that I think these two seem to be at a race to the bottom to pander to voters to see who can spend the most money. Trump, at least the first time around, had a good theme and had some good ideas, but I think they're struggling enough that we're now seeing Trump back off. He's willing to back off his own salt tax, repeal that, you know, give more money for child tax credit. They seem to be in a battle for that. There just seems to be one thing of no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, all these things. A lot of ideas that are just plain dumb in my opinion, because there's no mechanism that he has. He doesn't have a suggestion as to how to pay for any of this, but he's looking for ways to get votes out there. And my feeling, as I've said before, is like, look, talk about the economy, talk about immigration, and force Harris to answer these things on the issue. Put her on her heels instead of letting her get away with all these crazy nonsensical answers, instead of just throwing out these economic numbers and programs that do us no good and will never get passed anyway. He's making promises like this. Politicians make promises that will never be kept, but these promises are getting a little bit too wild even for me. It's like, let's get back to some serious talk about what this campaign should be about.
High crust promises, as Mary Poppins would call them.
Yeah,
easy to make, easy to break.
Every time I see him announce another thing, I'm like, no, this doesn't work for me either. It's just like, all this stuff is nonsense.
I'm waiting for no tax on dividends and year-end bonuses.
Yeah, that seems to be your big thing.
That's my big thing. Yes.
All right.
And I can afford to give myself a bigger bonus next year.
Yeah. So, on the media, I thought it was hilarious that CBS News went into Nevada to interview people in diners, and every diner they went into, they could only find one Harris supporter in every diner. And the reporter on CBS, she was just like, she was almost beside herself, couldn't figure out why this is happening. How could
it wasn't a Harris person
walk into a diner and have all these people and could only find one person that would admit they were going to be a Harris supporter. So maybe that's another undercurrent of where where you don't see things in the polls. It's just that you've got people out there, the real people, saying like, no, I'm voting for Trump. I'm not voting for that crazy woman. And the Harris people. I think David's fairly confident that Trump will win. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm not really sure yet, because like the media worries me that they're not doing their job, that they'll help find a way to get her into office and she'll slide in there somehow, but I think when we talked about the polls, and I was saying the polls, we just don't really know enough about the polls. I mean, they're there for information, but a lot of times they can be inaccurate and they can be way off. The only thing that really counts in the end is going to be the final numbers, election day, or as we're now coming into election months, right? I mean, I had an email from, Board of Elections in, Maryland saying, my ballot is on the way. So my mail-in ballot is in the mail. I guess I'll get it in a few days, and then I can go ahead and, fill it in and send it back or whatever. So, there are going to be a lot of votes being cast, before November 5th, right? And so, Vance and Walz are coming up for a vice president's debate on October 1st. That isn't really going to do anything, because there are going to be a lot of votes cast. And who really cares about the vice presidential candidates in general, right?
Yeah.
Nobody. That doesn't really sway anybody. It's really to kind of give, and reinforce confidence in your presidential candidate, that he's got something. So if you think Trump's a little off the reservation, you have a J.D. Vance who may be the future of MAGA, but may just not be as undisciplined as Trump is. So, but he's not necessarily going to get you a lot more votes, if any, at this stage of the game. This new Gallup study that shows that young women, 18 to 29, are becoming more liberal on all kinds of issues, whether or not it's guns, gay rights, abortion in particular, whereas young men in those same age groups have stayed very steady on how liberal they are. So I think the numbers are now about 40% of 18 to 29-year-olds that they did in the survey are now they can classify as liberal based on the issues, and that's up substantially from about 10 years ago. So we continue to see that move in that direction, and that can be a little bit, that can be a little bit of a wild card because the abortion issue has energized a lot of Democrat women, and so as a result, there is that potential on the vote, especially if you've got a referendum on the ballot in your state on abortion to try to codify it. So that's another potential problem. And then lastly, I mean, the media made a big deal about Taylor Swift endorsing, Kamala, and
was she really good? Was she really going to endorse a Republican? Please.
No, she never was. But my point really is that, so they had.
Does she also know her fans can't vote? I mean,
right, exactly. That's part of it. As of several days ago, about 406,000 people had gone to visit the vote.gov website. This A does not mean that they registered. B, you don't really know who these people are, right? Even if they registered, if they're in that younger cohort, that younger thing,
yeah,
most of them don't vote anyway.
They
right?
don't.
So you could say 406,000, these 406,000. Say you got 200,000 people to register to vote, and 75% of them vote, registered as Democrat. How many of those people are actually going to vote? 10,000?
Yeah.
It's not going to move the needle. So, they've over, once again, the media wants to make a big deal. Taylor Swift, big musical star, pop music star, everything like that. She's out there. She's for Harris. So this is a big deal. They're trying to tell everybody that's why you need to vote for Harris. That's their subliminal message that I see, is that when they throw these things out there, they're basically saying this is another reason you need to vote for Harris because this person is like any Hollywood celebrity, George Clooney, all these people, they're doing all these things. That's why you need to vote without saying so.
Do we really care how J-Lo is going to vote? I mean, J-Lo is another one that's endorsed, Kamala. Do we really care what J-Lo is going to do? Isn't her her ex was it boyfriend or her husband P Diddy or Puff Daddy? I think it's P Diddy, right?
He's gone by all kinds of names over the years.
Yeah.
Anybody who makes a choice based on what a celebrity had to say to vote for president's a moron. But I would also point out that Taylor Swift's songs are usually about making the wrong choice.
Exactly. So, about all the wrong choices that she's made. Or
I know. Yeah. So
what are some?
Nobody really talks about that. It's like, have you actually
what is one of? Did she do the song?
I agree, but that's true.
I Feel Like a Woman. Is that her song too? I Feel Like a Woman, or is that Britney Spears? Another trainer. Oh, is that Shania Twain?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Is it? Okay.
I Feel Like a Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Shania Twain.
Oh, okay.
I think that's Rachel Levine. I'm just joking. Or she felt like a woman and became one. And
does anybody know any songs that Britney Spears?
Are you going to open up another can of worms on transgender and everything else?
I don't care.
They'll have to bring up the story about how my best man is now a woman.
Oh my god, that's just weird.
Is that a song or is that a true story?
Yeah, maybe I should find a way to pen a song about that one.
Yeah.
It's like,
but you're still married, so you didn't change. That's good. That stayed the same.
Reba McEntire is a Republican.
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked when I found out that she was a Republican. Because
there are probably a lot more that don't want to admit it. My guess is Hollywood's full of a lot of Republicans. They just don't want to admit it.
I think everything that's part of it. I think that's part of the change, though, is that it's one thing where this kind of thing wasn't really ostracized in back in the Reagan days or whatever, and but now it's hard. I mean, Tom Selleck is a big enough star; he can do things. He can, he used to do the commercials for National Review and stuff like that.
Yeah,
he'd already had his career. He'd already had he was already doing well with Magnum PI and everything else, and he's fine. But there are a lot of younger stars that can't do that.
Yeah,
right.
I remember they went after Patricia Heaton, the wife when Everybody Loves Raymond, for being a Republican. They went after her.
Look what happened to Chuck Woolery. Chuck Woolery now. They finished him off.
Yeah,
Remember
did
Chuck
they?
Woolery
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the
That,
game
that,
show?
that reminds me. I haven't seen. Shoot. I got
Wasn't
to
he
go
the
look up
dad?
Rory's
Wasn't,
tweets. His tweets used to show up in my timeline, and they were
Me
great.
too. Yeah.
wasn't Chuck Woolery the dad on Everybody Loves Raymond? He was like the dad, like what's her name? Robert's wife, Amy's husband, Amy's dad. Wasn't that Chuck Woolery? And or am I thinking of someone else?
I don't
It's
know.
the
He
same
was
guy
on the
that was
game
on
show.
Roseanne.
He's a
too.
game show host. What were you doing?
Yeah, he was.
But didn't he do
was the game
television
show
also?
host.
I thought he did television.
I consider him Hollywood. He's a game show host, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard
All right.
Dawson was a
Anyway,
game show host.
I'll send that back to you, Dwight. But I'll check on that.
Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts. A couple things. Support our local DMV YouTubers like ourselves. Shauna Steele. Trains are awesome. Sammy Marco. There's another guy. I can't think of his name. He's the whale. He also does a train show. The Train Whale or some of that. Give me a second. It'll come to me. But support the local YouTube community that supports us. They've been nice to us. I'm being nice to them. Also, today, we said goodbye to Josephine Wang. I didn't get a chance to make it because I had a couple of other obligations. But we will miss Josephine. She's been a staple on our show for a while, actually, and when we used to be in studio. Also, other thing is coming up. Early voting starts in Maryland on the 24th of October. So get ready. The MDGOP is doing a big get out the vote rally on October 19th. That's a Saturday, and it's going to be at the Frederick Victory Center in Frederick, Maryland. Also, come on out. Save the date, October 17th, to go up to Pennsylvania, to the Harrisburg area, and make calls, knock on doors for President Trump, so President Trump can win Pennsylvania. If President Trump wins Pennsylvania, he's president. That's all that matters. He wins Pennsylvania, he's president. So come on out to Pennsylvania. More details as they come, but right now just save the date. Go up to Harrisburg. It's a good short 2-hour drive, depending where you are in the state. For me, it's about 2 hours. Excuse me. Excuse me. Bless me. Anyways, that and basically we've got that. And the final thought is visit, go out and put up a yard sign, whether it be for Larry Hogan or Donald Trump or both. Put up your yard signs. I know it's tough in Montgomery County to put up a Hogan sign, but do it. Show the love. I mean, I've been seeing so many Kamala and Harris signs around. I've put up my signs, and anyone who wants to steal my sign, go for it. I've got a 60-day supply. I will put them up faster than you take them down. So, yeah. And because, the tolerant left, they're very tolerant on the left. They want to squash my free speech rights. And that's all I've got. And see everyone next Friday. Good night, everyone.
Good night.